In January of 2023, an internal affairs investigation revealed that Tennessee police officer Maegan Hall had engaged in sexual misconduct with 7 of her fellow officers at the Laverne Police Department. She later filed a lawsuit against her former department, and in it, she claimed that the department's all-male ranks made her feel trapped and exploited, claiming that her superiors and even the chief of police groomed her. In this series, I uncover the investigation, dissect the actual interviews of those involved, and dive into the scandalous files of the lawsuit claims made by Maegan herself. Welcome to Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite, the infamous exploits of police officer Maegan Hall. And we're going to pick up right where we left off. And if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to it so you can catch up with us. I don't spend a whole lot of time at the start of these episodes with small talk. We just kind of jump right into it. And the last time we left you, Human Resource Director Patton was conducting his investigation. And on December 16th of 2022, Maegan Hall sat down with Director Patton, and he had Human Resource Leader Leah Presley also in that office. During the conversation, Patton received confirmation that Hall was involved in a sexual relationship with Holiday. Those encounters happened off shift, that was according to Hall, and happened at his house and hotels. Now, Maegan denied having any sexual relationship with Powell at that time. And look, y'all, I know there's a lot of names in here. It was 7 different dudes. I'm trying to keep myself straight and you straight with all these names, but these are all officers. So she denies that sexual relationship with Powell at that time. And she actually denied having any sexual relationship with Maglioso. She also denied having any interest or participating in any threesome conversations. So all that stuff that I told you in part 1, she's denying all that to the Human Resource Director. Now, Hall did confirm the hot tub party information and confirmed that she was heavily drinking and that her bikini top came off in the hot tub, and that Stats had helped her put it back on. So she confirmed that story. She did confirm falling downstairs on a houseboat. She confirmed sending nude images to other officers, and she named them. She said she sent some to Holiday, Maglioso, and an officer, Schubel. She did deny sending any nude images to Sergeant McGowan. So she leaves that meeting, and 3 days later, on December 19th of 2022, she calls Director Patton, and she says that she wants to come clean on something. And in that conversation, Hall tells Patton that she had not been honest on one part of the investigation, and she confirmed that she did have a sexual relationship with Maglioso. Hall said it happened 3 or 4 times, but never on duty. Hall also said she did not like to lie and wanted to tell Patton that information. Hall also confirmed that she and Maglioso had discussed having a threesome with Maglioso's wife. However, nothing ever happened in that situation. So Patton takes this information, he kind of digests it, and then he calls Hall in for a second interview on December 21st of 2022. He asked her to confirm information that he had already received from other officers about this whole situation. He wants her confirmation of what they're saying. And Hall confirmed that she and Maglioso did go into a restroom on a houseboat and had sex. She also confirmed that she went to the top of the hill with Maglioso and gave him a blowjob. Hall confirmed that she gave a blowjob to Sergeant Powell while on duty at the police substation. She also confirmed she had sex with Lugo at a hotel in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And when he asked her how long ago was that, she said 2 or 3 months ago. She said she met him at a Go-Kart USA center, and they rode together to a hotel and had sex. She said that Powell told her that he and McGowan had met and talked, and Powell told her that McGowan had denied everything, and McGowan told Powell he denied any sexual involvement as well. So Hall said, you know, they're lying. I had sex twice with McGowan, and actually about 3 weeks ago I had sex with him at his house. She also told Patton that she and McGowan had been close really since she started at the department. And one time he told her to use me if she ever wanted to have sex. Hall confirmed that she and McGowan would send nudes back and forth. So now we move to Juan Lugo, who I've mentioned a couple times throughout this podcast, and hadn't got really into his involvement in this case until right now. And on December 19th of 2022, and y'all, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but I'm going through files, and these are the way that these files are laid out. And there's a reason for that you'll understand in the end. But he meets with Juan Lugo on December 19th of 2022. And guess what? Officer Lugo did not show up for that meeting. So he set it up, but Lugo didn't show up. And he did not notify anybody that he was not planning on attending. He just didn't show up. Now, Lugo told Amber Dixon, who is basically the chief of police's administrative assistant, that he had child care issues. So they said, okay, we'll reschedule the meeting. So they reschedule it for the 20th, which was the very next day. And Lugo did meet with Patton in the human resource office, and Chief Davis was along for that meeting, as he was for all meetings. And Lugo signs his notification of rights, etc. And he shares with Patton that he hangs out a lot with officers Maglioso, Schober, and Leitig. And some of these guys got some bizarre names. Leitig. It's spelled Liedtke. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Sorry about that. But Lugo tells Patton that if there's a female present with drinking, he has to obtain permission from his wife to attend. Lugo told Patton he is aware of intimate relationships on the second shift, but nobody wants to say who it is. Patton presses Lugo several times for names, and Lugo said he didn't know any names. Lugo was asked if he received any nude images of other officers, and he told Patton no. Patton told Lugo that he was aware that he had received a nude image and went to Maglioso because Lugo was concerned about getting it. Remember, we told you that. And Lugo confirmed he got a nude of Hall through Snapchat, so he just got busted lying. Lugo confirmed he went to Maglioso and told him he received it because he had never gotten anything like that before. Chief Davis asked Lugo if he had ever sent a dick pic to anybody. And Lugo says, yes, I did send a dick pic to Hall. Lugo said Hall asked him if he would be down for a quickie. Lugo says he denied the invitation, and Patton revisited the question of who on second shift was having sexual relationships. And Lugo said he didn't know. So he's not going to sell out his boys, right? In a second interview on the 22nd, so just a couple days after that, Lugo was reminded by Patton that he signed basically a promise to tell the truth. And he was asked by the chief if he had any questions, and he says, no, I understand everything. And then Patton tells Lugo that he knew he had lied during the first interview and asked Lugo if he had sex with Hall. Lugo says no again. And Patton asked Lugo if he ever met up with Hall, and he shared a story about a group hangout, y'all, where he thought she might have been there, but he couldn't remember. So Patton tells Lugo he knew about the Go-Kart USA meetup and the fact that they went to a hotel room to have sex. Remember, Hall told Patton that already. Why would she lie about that, right? And Lugo looks at him and he knows he's busted, right? And he says, well, that was only one time. And then Patton tells Lugo to tell him who else had sex with Hall. Lugo said he knew that Powell and Hall had been together. That's the only thing he knew. So they release him and put him on administrative leave with pay pending the outcome of the investigation. Y'all, there's hardly any cops left on the second shift. Everybody is getting released and placed on administrative leave. It's crazy. If you're going to commit a crime in that part of Tennessee, that would be the scandal in which to do it, right? Because they had to be shorthanded. So Patton speaks with Seneca Shields on December 27th, just a few days after that. And of course, he's asked to sign that notification of rights. And Shields was asked if he knew why he was being asked to talk to Patton. Patton asked him this, and Shields said that he assumed it had to do with the issues around Officer Hall. He knew right off the bat. And Patton asked Shields who he had knowledge about that was intimate with Hall. So Shields denies. He says, man, I'm not going to put any names out there. And so Patton presses him a second time, a third time, and he still declines to provide any names. And Patton asked Shields why his name was being told as someone who was involved sexually with Hall. And Shields freaks out and he says, I have never had sex with Maegan Hall. So Patton rephrased the question and asked, okay, maybe you didn't have sex with her, but have you ever been intimate with her in any way, shape, or form? And Shields confirms that Hall had given him a blowjob in the police gym behind the police station. Shields told Patton that he was on duty at the time and went back to his desk after she sucked him off and finished his day. And he did confirm also that he and Hall had been sexting a lot and flirting for some time. And he confirms that they had both that he had sent nudes to her and she had sent nudes to him via text several times. So that's what Seneca Shields had to say. And I also gave you another name by the name of Gavin Schobel. So on December 19th of 2022, he gets called into the office, signs that notification of rights, and Patton asked him about the second shift post hangouts and just want to know what they do when they hang out. And Schroebel says it's normally him, Lugo, Hall, Maglioso, and Leidtick. And he also confirms that, they pretty much get shit-faced at these gatherings. He said he didn't have any knowledge of a hot tub party, and Patton asked him if he had ever received nudes on his cell phone from Hall, and he says, yes, he had. Man, she's something, huh? He also said about 1 or 2 months prior to him meeting with Patton that Hall had offered to send him a nude photo of herself. And he also told Patton that while on duty, he and Lugo and Hall were in a circle behind the police department, just talking. But it was a lot of joking about sexual things. And the subject came up to penis sizes, and Schobel confirmed he showed the group a photo of his penis. Lugo showed a photo of his penis as well. And Schroebel asked Hall to Snapchat him a photo of her. And Schroebel, he actually said he received a video from Hall on Snapchat and that Hall told him, don't tell anybody I sent you this video. So Patton gets all of this information. He kind of concludes his investigation of the case. he starts making his recommendations of what to do with these people, right? So Patton recommends that Hall be terminated, and he lists the reasons as violations of employee handbook regarding sexual activity while on duty, sexual harassment, conduct unbecoming of an officer, and lying during the course of an investigation. He also recommends the termination of McGowan, and he lists that as workplace violence, sexual harassment, conduct unbecoming of an officer, lying during the course of an investigation. So pretty much the same charges there. He recommends the termination of Powell for having sex on duty, conduct unbecoming an officer, and lying during the course of an investigation. He recommends the termination of employment for Shields, and he lists sexual activity while on duty, sexual harassment, and conduct unbecoming of an officer. He recommends the termination of employment for Lugo, and he lists sexual unreported of intimate relationships, sexual harassment, lying during the course of an investigation, and conduct unbecoming. Now, for Maglioso, and this was interesting, he recommended a suspension, not termination. And that kind of confused me because it seems like Maglioso was the one she was kind of into the most. But I think that it was primarily because none of that sex took place on duty with Maglioso. What he basically listed were the reasons was unreported sexual activity, intimate relationship with a coworker, and sexual harassment. And he also put Maglioso will also be removed from second shift patrol and away from the officer group that was involved in the investigation. Holiday, same thing, 80-hour suspension. He listed the violations as unreported sexual activity, intimate relationship with a coworker, and sexual harassment. Holiday will also be removed from second shift and away from the officer group that was involved in the investigation. And he also recommended only a 40-hour unpaid suspension for Strobel. So of all the people that he recommended to either be fired or suspended, Strobel got the lightest sentence, I guess you could say. Basically, he got a week off without pay, and it was based on some violations, including unreported sexual harassment and conduct unbecoming. Strobel, if you'll remember, was the one who confessed to showing photos of his penis to Hall and a male officer, and also requesting and receiving that Snapchat from Hall. So Patton takes all of that and he turns it in to the mayor, and the mayor then approves all of those recommendations for both the terminations and suspensions. And that takes place on December 29th of 2022. So what happens? All these officers get suspended and or terminated, and Maegan Hall, you know, whether deserved or undeserved, she gets mortified, right? Her shit is all over the internet. I mean, everybody is talking about it. She becomes the victim of meme city. You know, she's like the mayor of meme city after this. TikTok exploded when people got a hold to this information. Throughout this, we've mentioned, you know, Maegan Hall was married. And you may be saying, her poor husband, like, how mortified is he? And what happened with him? What did he do? Because it was apparent, look, reading over all of this and listening to Maegan Hall, and I'm going to let you listen to her. I've got several clips I'm going to play of her side of this. But listening to her, she, there's no doubt she was down with this stuff. And it seemed like she was trying to get her husband involved. Remember, she took all her clothes off with, I think it was Maglioso's wife. Heck, she did it with so many, but I think that's who it was. And her husband got pissed. That happened several occasions, right? And so it didn't seem like he was down with the get down, as they say. And so here's what he had to say. He actually came out in an interview, and I'm going to read you the article of his response to all this. This article's from the New York Post. The husband of the Tennessee police officer fired for having sex with her coworkers is standing by his wife. I don't know how he's doing it. He's more of a man than I am, but he's trying to salvage his marriage. That from Jed Hall's boss, Coffee County Sheriff Chad Patton. Jed's wife, Officer Maegan Hall of Laverne, Tennessee's police department, was fired after allegations emerged she engaged in sex with coworkers, sent them nude pictures, took off her top at a Girls Gone Wild themed hot tub party, and performed oral sex on two fellow officers while on duty. The hanky-panky also led to the firings of Sergeant Lewis Powell, Officer Juan Lugo, Sergeant Ty McGowan, and Detective Seneca Shields. Officers Patrick Maglioso and Larry Holliday, who also had romps with Maegan Hall, stayed on the force but were suspended. Maegan Hall had told her co-workers she was in an open marriage, investigators said. One of her co-workers, however, said that Jed, who is the son of a pastor, was not on board. Patton said the former park ranger had been training for a job with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, but pulled out after the allegations of his wife became public. He has since become a deputy in Coffee County. How you like that, y'all? So he is now a police officer in another county. I don't know how he does it. I have offered and extended to him any resources he needs, and all he says is, Sheriff, I just want to work for the citizens of Coffee County. I love what I'm doing. That from his sheriff. I don't condone what went on at the Laverne Police Department, but he sure hasn't broken any laws. He's the victim here. There's not a blemish on his record, and he's doing phenomenal work. That from the sheriff also. According to the internal investigative report by the Laverne Police Department, Maglioso said Jed Hall had become upset at a party when Maegan began kissing his wife. Jed really wasn't on board with his wife having a threesome, Maglioso said. Maglioso also expressed concern for Maegan Hall's mental health, claiming she had been prone to heavy drinking. He said she had once pointed an empty gun at her head and pulled the trigger just so she could hear what it sounded like. So he chose to stand by his wife, y'all. Wow. I mean, that's love, I guess. If you're going to be able to put up with all that. But what you think probably happened did happen. As I told you, she is just absolutely hammered and humiliated on social media over all of this. And a lot of people would say deservingly so. It's hard to feel sorry for somebody that was doing all of that. But what do we say? There's two sides. Actually, there's three sides to every story, and the truth lies somewhere in between. And Maegan Hall does have a side. And look, due to all of the humiliation, and look, she also claims she was pressured into a lot of this. And, well, we're going to get into her claims because she filed a lawsuit in the United States District Court of Tennessee at Nashville. And she sued the city of Laverne, Tennessee, Burrell Chip Davis, who is the chief of police of that county, Lewis Powell, and Henry Ty McGowan. So she sued them in civil court. So before we get into all that, I've got a couple things I'm going to play for you. And the first is going to be Maegan Hall, her actual interviews, and these are just pieces of her interview with HR Director Patton. And these took place, remember, Hall got called in several times. So one of these interviews, it sounds like they're at a restaurant or something, and he was recording it maybe over lunch. So you'll hear some background noise, but you can still hear them clearly in what they're talking about. Another one, it seems like, took place in the office, but it's pieces of that interview, kind of some key moments, and we're going to play that for you. It's right here.
So through the course of the investigation, I have had others report to me that you and Officer Powell have been together, specifically performing oral sex while on duty at the police substation.
I'm sorry, what?
That's the information that I was given early on to start the investigation. So that answers the question of, why is it affecting city employment? Because the information I had was that it was happening while on duty in city property. And I have had that confirmed through the investigation so far. I'm not done. I haven't spoken to you, but that's why it's a city issue, right? Which brings to light then any other relationship. That's why we're looking at it holistically. But the concern was raised because it was reported to be happening on shift in a city-owned building. Help me I wasn't there. I don't know if it took place or not. I'm just here to try to understand why and how that's being reported.
Could I ask who would have first reported that?
I can't answer that at this point because the investigation's still open and ongoing, so those conversations are still confidential.
Okay. Is there a reason that they would assume that or bring that up at all?
The confirmation on the act, I've been told, came directly from you to the person who reported it to me. That you talked about the act. You talked about his size, what it looked like.
Is there any evidence of that?
Can you tell me about an encounter you had with him before you were an official officer at your house?
Yeah. So, I don't remember what it was, but me and V were together, hanging out. He met us at Chili's in Murfreesboro. We all got some drinks. We went back to my house. We were hanging out for a little bit. Jed came home. He started drinking. Ty wanted to try to get Jed to have a thing with all of us. We played strip Uno, and then when V went out onto the patio with Jed, me and Ty kissed for a little bit, and then that was it.
That you were involved with somebody's wife.
Making out, but as far as...
But that was that you had talked about a threesome.
Right.
Y'all had made out.
Me and Amy,
okay.
We kissed, but
okay.
There was no...
Didn't go any further than
Max
that.
In it, no.
Okay. Okay. So, is that when your husband came in and saw you guys kissing?
He wasn't even home then.
Okay. So...
No, when that happened, when Mabs was like right by us, and then on the couch, Mabs was like, if y'all start making out, maybe Jed will get into my husband, into the idea. And when we started making out, Jed was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was a conversation the next day about, I thought Jed was down for this, and you were like, yeah, no.
Yeah. I thought me and my husband have had a threesome before, so I didn't know if it was gonna, like, I didn't think he'd have an issue with.
Got it. Okay.
In the weight room.
The weight room. I got a report that you gave him a in the weight room.
We made out.
You made out? But you didn't give him a So what I have is that it was an off work day. You came in, asked him to come over to help you work on something.
Yeah, we were working out.
And he came over. was a that was given, and then he went back to work, and you went home.
Hanging out.
Me and my husband, we've been going through a lot, and I just...
Does he know about any of this? Okay. So, just so you know, I don't talk to spouses. I can't talk about anybody else, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't talk to spouses. I said to you last Friday, as I said to every single other person I've spoken to, what you do outside of work, I don't care. I don't even judge. When it comes to work, that's why we're here, because this has come to work. So I'm not calling your husband. I'm not communicating with anybody else's spouse.
Neither am I.
That is up to you. But I would like to know all of the details about Sergeant Powell, because I know a lot.
We've had sex a lot. He's just been here for me. I was there for him because I know his wife just doesn't want to have sex with him. Me and my husband were kind of on the verge of a divorce, and I just cracked, and then it just kind of got out of hand.
Okay. When did it start?
That was a while ago. I can't put an exact number on it.
This year? Last year?
It was this year.
Okay. When did it end? Or has it ended?
No, yeah, it has. It was probably a month or two ago.
Okay.
I think it was 2 months. Yeah, it was 2 months ago.
You know, Sergeant Powell, where did it happen on duty?
I just gave him in the substation.
Where?
Substation.
Substation, okay.
Okay. Inside.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a foot fetish? Do you send pictures of your feet to people?
Ty does.
Ty has a foot fetish. And so he would ask you for pictures of your feet. Did you send pictures of your feet to Seneca?
I know I didn't Ty.
Unfold the whole relationship, start to finish, with Ty.
I mean, we've been close forever.
Mm-hmm.
He, on multiple times, would say, use me, if you ever want to have sex, use me. Exactly like that. He would always just talk about me like that. And I put it off for a long time. We've only had sex twice, and we would send pictures back and forth. I feel like we've touched everything.
It's been a lot.
Yeah.
You still seeing your counselor?
Yeah, I went yesterday, actually I went today.
Still being honest?
Yeah, he's helping me.
Good.
I'm about to go to couples counseling.
Good. You guys are going to try to stay together.
Yeah.
Have you been 100% honest with your husband? That was brutal. Probably worse than being cheap, right?
Yeah, it wasn't easy, but I'm glad I told him.
All right, so that's Maegan Hall and her responses and I guess her admitting to several things with HR Director Patton. And we also have the interview she gave to a local news outlet after she announced that she was suing the city of Laverne, the chief of police, Lewis Powell, and Henry Ty McGowan. And she kind of gives her side and says why she's suing those folks. So we're going to play that for you. It's right here.
Maegan Hall became the face of the scandal and the target of nationwide ridicule, and she's now filed a federal lawsuit.
Tonight, in an exclusive interview with our Nick Barris, Hall describes a toxic workplace behind closed doors and how sexual misconduct spiraled out of control.
Maegan Hall was 24 years old when she was hired as an officer here at the Laverne Police Department 2 years ago. Her plan was to have a career in law enforcement. She now knows that dream is likely over.
I remember while interviewing for the position at Laverne Police Department, they described the environment as a family. However, while I was aspiring to protect my community, the Laverne Police Department was not protecting me.
By now, most of the country knows what happened. Hall, 4 other officers, and the police chief were fired last month. This after 2 separate investigations found that Hall engaged in sexual activity and/or shared intimate photos and videos with several male officers. The chief and 2 sergeants were among those implicated. Now Hall and her attorney, Wesley Clark, are suing those 3 supervisors and the city in federal court for civil rights violations.
Maegan wasn't looked at like a rookie cop to be trained and promoted. She was looked at as a piece of meat to be sexualized and exploited.
Since the story broke, Hall, the lone female officer fired and only woman on the second shift, became a target nationwide for sexual jokes and taunting.
I received harassing and threatening messages on my phone daily. I felt like I had been terrorized.
And yes, now she is suing. No criminal charges have been filed in the case. Hall knows there are those who will say she was a consenting adult who willingly participated in sexual antics in violation of police department policy, and that now she wants to blame others, including one sergeant who targeted her early on.
I know what most people are saying. You could have said no. I get it. But my response to them is that I did say no, and he wouldn't take it for an answer. Eventually, I gave in from pressure.
So it's not as easy to say she could have just said no.
She did say no on several occasions. Miss Hall tried to get out of this relationship, and she was not allowed to.
Hall concedes she participated under duress. She's not saying she was raped, but adds that the salacious details made public of sex on the job put her alone center stage and do not tell the whole story.
They isolated me, they shunned me, they accused me, and they blamed me for becoming a victim.
Hall suffered from depression to the point of considering suicide, and at one point was hospitalized. She felt trapped.
My supervisors worked together to take advantage of my vulnerabilities and my mental health. And they used it for their gain and sexual pleasure.
And that included the police chief, Chip Davis. The independent investigation found he was aware of what was going on and even received intimate photos and videos of Hall.
Who do you even turn to when the chief of police is sexually harassing you? How could I get justice when the entire system, including the chief, not only condoned such behavior, but participated in it? I was lost and I felt alone. I had no one to turn to, and I had nowhere to go.
Hall now realizes her career in law enforcement is likely over, and she knows those ugly memes on social media will remain forever, her reputation sullied.
No woman should ever have to endure this type of abuse. What happened to me during my employment at Laverne's Police Department, it should never happen to anyone.
Hall now hopes to put what happened to her here at the Laverne PD behind her. She is married and says she has a strong family support system and says that it was her faith that helped carry her through the turmoil.
So there's Maegan Hall, y'all, in her own words. You can make your judgments based off of that. We've got one more episode coming your way in this series. It'll be episode 3. It'll be coming at you next week. And it is every allegation that Maegan Hall makes against the city of Laverne, Tennessee, the chief of police, and those 2 individuals we mentioned, Lewis Powell and Henry Ty McGowan. It is an eye-opener. Look, always 2 sides to every story. Sometimes there's 3. We're going to give you her side in full next week, and that'll wrap up that series. Thank you for listening to Exposed, the scandalous files of the elite, the infamous exploits of police officer Maegan Hall. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman. Much love.